Memento Domine David, et omnis consuetudinis eius. Gloria Patri et Filio et Spiritui Sancto, sicut erat in principio et nunc et semper, et in saecula saeculorum. Amen. Sacerdotes tui Domine, in tuam justitiam, in sancti tui, exultem de propter David, servum tuum, non avertas a pacem Christi tui. The saint of this day is renowned for his gentleness. He was referred to in his time as the gentle Jesus of Geneva. He actually had to conquer himself so as to acquire this gentleness. And it is interesting to note that at some times what was natural to him would come out through some unexpected valve. One day he was preaching against the Calvinists, and he let out an exclamation which made one or two ladies in the congregation bless themselves out of startledness. They were actually amazed that he should come out with such an expression, but it was something which came from his feeling, his gut reaction, that this was not of God, and he let people understood that that was the case. Who sent them? Who sent them? In other words, the mandate was not given. And he made this remark about Calvin, and I won't repeat it. Interesting. It's actually, the word, if analysed, means the nose stinker. Unexpected. But anyway, apparently it's historic. So there we are. This was our saint, the gentle Christ of Geneva. And that's right, that's the correct expression. Le doux Christ de la Genève. And he was able, precisely because he knew that he was in the right, to conquer usually just with the power of serenity and gentleness. Gentleness is actually more powerful than force sometimes. We note that people who are in a calm possession of the truth are alarmingly calm. They sit back and let you explode, and by so doing let you make the mistakes. It is said that a wise man learns through the mistakes of other men. So one observes and let people, even actually on a church level, one has to let it happen. Let people make the mistakes that they want to. We don't have to get involved with their mistakes. Actually, one of the most powerful words that we have is that not of saying anything at all, but actually sometimes walking away. I heard from a friend of mine one time in university that when in English, I believe it was, a lecturer dared to use a word which she found unacceptable, she simply got up and walked out. And if during a session of teaching or preaching one sees that this or that person gets up and walks out, it is a statement, a very important statement. One observes. Sometimes, of course, it's actually in reverse. It's because precisely they do not want to hear certain things, and that's different. Anyway, to get back to what I was saying, we are actually more influenced sometimes by a powerful, almost silent word than a very loud one, because it is somewhat like the law of the jungle, which is the law of the strongest. The law of the jungle is simply that of winning by brute force. A brute is an animal. And it is something which in this week of dialogue with our brethren across the world, praying for unity, one observes. Often one sees the culture of a person by the way he dialogues. And unfortunately, many Christians are unable to dialogue. There is a refusal of any further truth, and any threat to the acquired truth that they have will be blocked out by much noise, aggression, and they will not bear a sentence which starts off with anything menacing to them, so they will intercept it. Whereas true gentleness also is that honour and respect given to the word coming, which is to say that the bottom line is that one does not interrupt an interlocutor. That is, one does not cut across when a person is speaking. It's actually in Scripture, it's in one of the sapiential works, that one should not cut across. Now, that's something which often is not practiced. Letting a person finish is a whole art and a basic courtesy. If a person will not finish and will not have a single pause in an uninterrupted and unstoppable flow of words, then one has to have appeal to the deadline system. I have to go. And one leaves the person to speak as much as the person wants to, all the time the person wants to, until the deadline has come. And if the person has any cop on, he will realize that it has not been a conversation. And in fact, one is surprised to find people sometimes coming for a word, for some kind of counsel, and they themselves doing all the talking. Very dysfunctional. So gentleness also acts on that level. But gentleness is the fruit of humility. And André Louf, the former abbot of Mont-des-Cats, great Trappist abbot, I believe he's dead by now, has this little work on humility, l'umiltà in Italian, which goes back to the Desert Fathers, showing how this is the fundamental attitude of soul which allows us to be receptive and truthful, honest, and in our own truth before our Maker. He goes back to the whole notion of the contrite heart, the crushed heart, the heart which is broken and whose pride has been wrecked, squeezed out. It is nothing, and at last has got to its truth. And then that attitude extends also to all around, even actually to objects. One does not crash and bash a door. Gentleness of spirit is therefore the result of awareness of our own truth, a fundamental nothingness, therefore receptivity and gratitude. One last parenthesis, it's that element of gentleness and humility extended therefore also to our King. If one is genuinely contrite of heart, contritus, crushed in Latin and also based on the Greek, contrite therefore, crushed in heart, one cannot crash into majesty, standing and with folded arms. A person who spends a lot of time in adoration and in the company of the angels who are always adoring, prostrate there in adoration and hidden singing of the Sanctus, is aware that the natural attitude of soul and body is somewhat the same, and by instinct desires to receive the King of Kings on bended knee without actually appropriating in the form of taking. Therefore there's a coherence, it's all one, nothingness, humility, gentleness, and therefore respect, fear and trembling, and awareness that there is something greater here. Fidelis servus et prudens, quem constituit Dominus, super familiam suam, potentis in tempore ti chi min su